Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will show you how to paint a beautiful watercolor rose, and we'll talk about the techniques and tricks that I use to achieve a very realistic look. You can download my reference photo using a link in the video description below and use it to practice. Some of the key things I will show you is how to sketch an accurate flower outline using anchor points if you don't have tracing paper, how to build a realistic shape and volume using multiple layers, and finally, I'll explain some of my color choices. And you know I love to use lots of colors in my work, but each one is selected for a reason based on temperature and transparency. So I think you'll pick up a few good tips here. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. All materials are also listed in the video description, but don't feel like you have to use the same ones. The watercolor techniques I teach can be adapted to your favorite color palette. The only thing that will really make a difference is the quality of the paper, and I use cold pressed 100% cotton paper. It's 140 pounds in weight. So let's get started with an outline. Based on your comments, I know that some of you struggle with the drawing stage and putting outlines on paper. It's definitely not the most fun part of watercolor painting, so I totally get it. And what I do often is trace, or as I'm doing here, you can create a rough outline using a hard pencil. It doesn't have to look exactly the same since we're not doing a portrait. And the trick I use for freehand sketching of a flower like this is, let's rewind back. I pick 2 points, 2 petals on each side of the flower, and I lightly mark them on the left and on the right to basically tell myself, okay, these are the limits of my flower shape on each side. And I'll come back to them later. Then I pick a petal that's right in the middle. It sticks out the most when I look at the reference photo, and I mark it up as well. This will be my anchor point, so now everything has to fit in between these 3 points. So it really helps with proportions, and when I look at my reference photo and I want to find the right placement for each petal. And I will build my petal outlines going up and down and left and right, and I know that in general everything will fit because everything I draw is in relation to these first 3 points that I can easily identify on the reference photo. Now the outline is ready, and I will put down the first layer of color. This is a background layer, and it will help us establish the overall tone of the flower shape. So no details at the stage, just one large wash. And I'm using synthetic Sable brush from Escoda here, but any large brush with a fine tip will do. I'll start with clear water and then build from the top, starting with my opera pink. These top petals are in the sun. I'm seeing a little bit of pink in the reference photo, so they're going to be the lightest, most transparent. I'll transition down to Quinacridone Coral. It's a much warmer color, and you can use one of your warmer reds if you don't have a coral, and you can also mix in some yellow here just to warm it up. And then all the way at the bottom, a much cooler, deeper and more saturated red, since the petals at the bottom are in the shade. These are my favorite watercolor pigments, and if you want to see the full list of my favorite pigments, I'll link a video in the card above and also in the video description below. So now while our background layer is still wet, we want to quickly come back and drop a little bit more saturated pigments in the areas that are really dark. So take a look at your reference photo again and pick your darkest reds and put them down, watch them spread. It's totally okay if they're mixing together. This is just a background layer, and our color areas are approximately where they need to be at this stage, so this is good enough. We'll do lots more detail later in the second and the third layer. I'm also using lots more of my colder reds at the bottom, some warmer coral as I move up the flower. So on my really dark spots, I'll even add some Pyrrole Violet and cold magenta. So colder colors will help me set the petal back visually, and Pyrrole Violet is just going to help me mark those really dark shadow spots. Again, don't worry about using the exact same pigments. As long as you follow the general logic of using colder colors at the bottom and in the shadows and warmer colors up on top, this will work. Now, before moving to the second layer, you want to make sure that your first layer is completely dry. So give it a good hour or two. I actually came back the next morning to paint it, so I know it's dry and my colors won't bleed. And the second layer is where we're going to start working on the details and define our petal shapes. So here we want to work on one petal at a time, and in some cases one section of a petal at a time. The easiest way to do it is just to pick one section, paint it, and then move on to another one that's not touching the one you just painted, so you can be sure your colors are not going to bleed from one area to another. So this is quite different from the first layer that we just did. And you will see me using a lot of colors here, almost the entire range of my reds, and the way I choose which color to apply is by using several factors. So first, of course, I look at the reference photo and decide how hot or cold the base pigment should be. So for example, my coral is very warm and vibrant and would be more suitable for warmer petals further up, or the ones facing the sun, while my Bordeaux is darker and cooler, and I'll mostly use it for the areas underneath the petals and on some of the folds up on top. Into those base colors, I will be adding lots of shadows using Pyrrole Violet, and also some highlights using warmer pinks, reds, and even in some cases you'll see me use yellows, and I'm using Hansa Yellow from Daniel Smith here. So the number one thing I want you to notice here is that the top of our flower has a very different light compared to the bottom. The top petals are almost transparent and they're illuminated by the sun, so the bottom half gets a lot less light, and there are no transparent petals because we're seeing multiple layers of them. So the colors will be much more saturated at the bottom. What you will see me do is build a few layers of color here on the bottom half, section by section, and on top I will only add a few bits of color and mostly on the folded parts of the petals, leaving most of the surface area dry, so we'll only see our background color from the first wash. The second thing I want you to notice is that I will come back from time to time and double down on some of the color layers, only for those areas that I feel they need to be darker and more saturated. And so the reason why I'm doing this is because with watercolors you can't really erase your paint, so or paint over it with a lighter color, so we always want to paint from light to dark, and it's much easier to build your values over time by layering color instead of going straight away with what you think will be the darkest section. So here I'm focusing on one section of the petal, and I'm using mostly my Bordeaux and cold red as a base color, and I'm using other reds and pinks selectively to match my reference photo. In many cases on the backs of the petal I will be adding my Hansa Yellow because I see some warm reflections there, and for those really dark and dry spots that show up on the edges of some of the petals, I'm not afraid to go with a very saturated Pyrrole Violet, so I will continue using this Pyrrole Violet for shadows, but for shadows I will make it quite diluted and mixed with my other reds. But for these dry parts, I'm using very little water. There's this really large dry spot on one of the front petals. I will add some pure blue here. I want to show that it's really different in tone and texture from my other petals that are sort of alive. So that's why I've added a bit of blue there. Towards the end of this process, at the end of this step, our flower is already looking pretty realistic, and we could actually just leave it at this stage and call it finished. But of course, if you've seen my work, my preference is always to add a bit more texture. So we'll let it dry and come back again in a few hours to add some accents. More importantly, this third step, this third layer, is also a good opportunity for us to look at the saturation and values after the paint is dry. And because watercolors typically look lighter and less vibrant once the water evaporates. And so we might see some inconsistencies compared to the reference photo and areas of shadow in particular that we would want to fix. So these are the two things that I'm going to do. Darken some shadow areas with more saturated colors, and I'll even add some Windsor Red deep here and more Pyrrole and Violet. And then with the tip of my brush, I will also add some thin lines on my petals, just outlining the grooves and creating some texture. And I'll focus more on the petals that are closer to me, because the more details we'll add, the closer the petals will appear. So again, this will help us create a little bit of depth and realism. Okay, the rose is done. I will finish the painting by adding leaves and a bird down there. Let me know if you want to see the full painting process on my channel. I'm happy to post it as well, and I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. Next week I'll be back with more art supply reviews and watercolor tutorials for you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon.